Ready to step off the map from the most hidden alleyways to the stories nobody told you? Uncharted Alleyways begins now. Your definitive guide and travel podcast, culture, adventure, and the world as you've never heard it. Tune in, disconnect from the obvious, and come explore with us. Uncharted Alleyways, your next trip starts here.
Imagine stepping off a boat in the Greek islands.
Oh, am I already there?
Right. But instead of being immediately, assaulted by a chaotic mob of tourists waving selfie sticks or, shouting taxi drivers and screaming beach club promoters, you're just greeted by a single massive 2,000-year-old marble doorway.
Just completely isolated.
Exactly. Just standing there on a small islet in absolute silence. And that stark contrast is, it's exactly where we're taking you today.
It's a completely different world.
It really is. We are diving deep into the DNA of the Cyclades by exploring the island of Naxos, and we're using this brilliant framework laid out in the travel show, Uncharted Alleyways.
Yeah, that source material is just fantastic for this.
So good. Our mission today is to essentially bypass all those heavily manufactured tourist traps, and shortcut you directly to the authentic heart of Greek island life.
Because Naxos, it operates on a completely different physical and, cultural frequency than its famous neighbors.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, when you look at destinations like Santorini or Mykonos, they are engineered for immediate consumption.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. But Naxos is larger, it's significantly greener, and it's fundamentally rooted in this everyday reality that functions completely independently of the tourism industry.
Yeah, and the best way to understand this difference, I think, is to use an analogy. Because those globally famous hotspots, they're essentially like fast-paced TikTok trends.
Oh, I like that.
Right. They're flashy. They are absolutely designed to grab your attention instantly, and they deliver this massive, quick hit of dopamine.
Which is fun, but it doesn't really last.
Exactly. But Naxos is more like a worn-in classic novel that you just spend hours reading on a quiet Sunday.
It takes more investment.
Right. It doesn't scream for your attention, but it leaves a much deeper, more permanent impression than a quick, sugar crash vacation.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, let's unpack this. To truly understand this slower approach, we actually have to start with how you physically arrive at the island. Because, the journey dictates your mindset.
Yeah, the approach to the island is actually the crucial first step of what I'd call the decompression process.
Okay, decompression.
Yeah, because travelers heading to Naxos from Athens generally face a choice, right?
Yeah.
You can take a 45-minute domestic flight or a much slower multi-hour ferry ride across the Aegean Sea.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay.
Because, we all have limited PTO. Time is our most precious commodity. And when we finally get a break from our exhausting daily routines, the goal is usually to get to the beach as quickly as humanly possible, right?
That is the modern instinct, yeah.
So why on earth would I volunteer to sit on a slow ferry for up to 6 hours when I could just, essentially teleport there on a plane? Is the slower ferry really worth the time, or is it just a romantically packaged inconvenience?
It's a fair question, but it comes down to how the brain processes physical distance. It's very different from how the physical body processes it.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, when you step onto an airplane in a chaotic, stress-filled environment like Athens or, whatever home city you're flying out of, and then you immediately step off onto a quiet island 45 minutes later, your nervous system actually experiences a form of psychological whiplash.
Oh, wow. Whiplash.
Yeah, because your internal clock is still racing at the speed of the mainland. You haven't transitioned.
That makes so much sense. You're physically there, but mentally, you're still answering emails.
Exactly. So the slower ferry, it serves as this functional psychological airlock.
A psychological airlock. I absolutely love that phrase.
Right. As the mainland literally fades from view and that deep blue expanse of the Aegean opens up around you, your mind is basically forced into a state of sensory deprivation compared to the city. The physical time spent moving across the water allows your cortisol levels to actively drop. So that ensures that when you finally do step off the boat, your internal rhythm has already synchronized with the unhurried pace of the island.
That is brilliant. Okay, so you clear the airlock, you step onto the harbor, and Naxos, like we said, it doesn't throw neon signs or staged photo ops in your face.
Not at all.
It greets you with that massive marble doorway I mentioned in the intro, the Portara.
Yes, the Portara.
And visually, it is stunning. It's perched on this tiny little islet connected to the main port by a causeway, and it's just silently standing guard. Behind it sits Chora, which is the main town.
Yeah, and the Portara is just an incredible piece of engineering and history.
It's ancient. Yeah.
Very. It was actually commissioned around 530 BC by the tyrant Lygdamus.
Okay.
And he wanted to build a temple to Apollo that would rival the monumental structures being built in Athens and Samos at the time.
So it was like an ancient flex?
Essentially, yes. He imported these impossibly heavy blocks of local marble, each one weighing around 20 tons.
Wait, 20 tons each?
Yes, each. But then war broke out between the islands, Lygdamus was overthrown, and the temple was never finished.
Oh, wow. So they just stopped working on it.
Yeah, so this 20-foot-tall, 20-ton doorway was just left standing there, completely alone, for over 2 millennia.
That is wild.
And you know what's fascinating here is how the Portara acts as a literal and figurative gateway to the island.
How so?
Well, unlike other destinations that try to dazzle you instantly with, like, staged attractions to get your wallet open in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Naxos welcomes you with quiet history. It earns your attention slowly. It's completely secure in its own identity.
I love that. Earning your attention. And you really feel that lack of desperation when you walk into Chora, the main town.
Absolutely.
It delivers exactly what you want from the Cyclades. You know, the whitewashed buildings, the narrow stone streets, the blue shutters, but without the suffocating crowds. But to really understand this place, you have to venture beyond the shoreline.
You have to lose the map.
Yes. Because Naxos is larger and greener, the cultural heartbeat is pushed upward and inland. But even before you leave Chora, you have to navigate the Kastro.
The Venetian Castle district.
Yeah, it's layered right into the middle of the town. And according to Uncharted Alleyways, the single best strategy for experiencing the Kastro is to take your smartphone, turn off Google Maps, and actively try to get lost.
Which is terrifying for a lot of people.
Oh, totally. We rely on that little glowing blue dot to survive.
Right, but throwing away the map forces a complete shift in how you navigate a new environment.
Yeah.
Modern travelers are hyper-dependent on optimized routing. We want the fastest path from point A to point B, but the Kastro was fundamentally designed to destroy that optimization.
Okay, wait, designed to destroy. It wasn't just built terminally random.
No, not at all. The architecture of that maze is entirely functional.
Interesting.
In 1207, the Venetian conqueror Marco Sanudo captured Naxos and built the Kastro. And he didn't just build a home, he engineered a defensive labyrinth. The streets were constructed deliberately narrow to break the winter winds, but more importantly, to disorient and bottleneck invading pirates.
Wait, really?
Yes, the dead ends and the winding, illogical paths forced attackers into single-file kill zones.
Wow, so it's a pirate trap.
Exactly. What we experience today as this charming, romantic blend of medieval Venetian walls and Greek architecture is actually a brilliantly preserved 13th century military defense grid.
That completely changes how you look at a cute little alleyway. I mean, you're wandering through these incredible stone archways, stumbling into shaded courtyards, and it's literally designed to confuse pirates.
It's amazing.
It really is. But eventually, you do need to find your car and head inland. And this is where Naxos radically separates itself from the stereotype of a Greek island.
The landscape shifts dramatically.
Right. We usually picture these barren, dry, rocky islands baking in the sun. But the interior of Naxos is incredibly lush. You're driving through these rolling hills and deep green valleys until you hit the mountain villages.
And those mountain villages, they hold the island's authentic, lived-in reality.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Like Halki.
Right. Halki was historically the commercial center of Naxos. Today, it operates more as this quiet, elegant time capsule.
With the old stone mansions.
Yes, neoclassical mansions, shaded courtyards lined with citrus trees. It's gorgeous.
It sounds like the exact kind of place where you sit down for a quick 10-minute coffee and an hour later you're still there.
Oh, easily.
Just, watching the sunlight move across the stone walls. And then just a short drive from there is Filoti.
Filoti is much larger and highly traditional.
Yeah, that's where you go to see normal daily island life. You see the active bakeries, the local butcher shops, the village squares packed with locals fiercely debating politics.
Over tiny cups of very strong coffee.
Exactly. And looming directly over Filoti is the geographical anchor of the entire island, Mount Zas.
Mount Zas is actually the highest peak in the entire Cyclades island group. It reaches over 3,200 feet.
Which is massive for an island. And it carries immense mythological weight, right? It was the childhood home of Zeus.
Yes, the king of the gods. And, If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
Mount Zas doesn't just provide a physical scale. It anchors the island in this deep mythological history that contributes to its unhurried reality.
That makes sense.
But scientifically, that 3,200-foot peak creates a phenomenon called orographic lift.
Orographic lift. Okay, explain that for us.
Basically, as the warm, moist air blows off the Aegean Sea and hits the mountain, it's forced upward.
Okay.
And as that air rises, it expands and cools, which causes that moisture to condense into rain and thick mountain fog.
Oh.
Yeah. That localized weather system is precisely why Naxos has fertile, lush, green valleys, while all its neighboring islands remain dry, volcanic rocks.
So the mountain is literally squeezing water out of the sky to feed the island.
That is exactly what's happening.
And that causal link brings us to the absolute best part of this deep dive, in my opinion.
Through
The food. Because that trapped moisture directly fuels this profound agricultural bounty. Naxos is one of the most fertile islands in the Mediterranean.
which naturally dictates the unhurried rhythm of the coastal tavernas.
Right, because the food culture here is entirely hyper-local. They aren't shipping in frozen ingredients on ferries to feed the summer tourists.
No, the soil composition in those valleys is heavily concentrated with granite and marble.
Okay, so a lot of minerals.
Exactly. It provides unique drainage and a highly specific mineral content. That terroir translates directly into the island's agricultural output.
And we have to talk about the results of that terroir, because there are specific things you absolutely must eat when you go.
Definitely.
First is the Naxian graviera cheese.
Incredible cheese.
Then the slow-roasted local lamb, and obviously the fresh grilled fish. But the undisputed star of the Naxian culinary scene, which sounds completely crazy for a Greek island, are the potatoes.
The potatoes are legendary.
They are widely considered the absolute best in all of Greece. How does an island get famous for potatoes?
Well, it's a direct result of that potassium-rich, sandy soil and the specific moisture provided by the mountain runoff we just talked about.
Okay.
They developed this incredibly unique, sweet, starchy profile that you just simply cannot replicate on the mainland.
Wow.
And the graviera cheese is equally tied to the land. It's primarily made from local sheep's milk, sometimes blended with a little goat's milk.
And they graze right there on the mountain, right?
Yeah, these animals graze freely on the slopes, eating wild thyme, oregano, local herbs, and those flavors pass directly into the milk.
That sounds amazing.
Then the cheese is cave-aged for at least 90 days in the island's naturally humid microclimate.
So when you sit down at a local taverna, you are literally eating the mountain.
You are.
And this agricultural independence naturally dictates the rhythm of the meal. I mean, the family running the taverna likely grew those potatoes just up the road.
They probably know the shepherd who made the cheese.
Right. There is this deep foundational respect for the food, which means the service is incredibly warm, but it is never rushed. You cannot rush a meal that took months to grow in the valley behind you.
And that pacing extends perfectly to the island's coastline, too.
Yeah, the beaches.
You have varying degrees of energy depending on what you need.
Right, like Agios, Prokopios. That one is famous for long stretches of soft sand and shallow turquoise water. It's a bit more active, more popular.
But if you want to lean fully into that quiet momentum, you head south to Alyko Beach.
Yes, Alyko.
It's quieter, more remote. It's uniquely framed by a dense cedar forest that grows right up to the sand, naturally blocking the wind.
And there are absolutely zero loud beach clubs there. No thumping bass, no overpriced cabanas. Just the sand, the cedar trees, and the sound of the water.
It's pure solitude.
So what does this all mean?
Well,
When you combine the deeply historic Kastro, the moisture-trapping mountains, the hyperlocal ingredients, and these remote beaches, it means that on Naxos, a meal isn't just sustenance.
it's an event.
Exactly. It stretches out. The conversation, the wine, the local ingredients, they all blend together into a rhythm that perfectly matches the timeless feel of places like Alyko Beach.
But to fully unlock this authentic experience, you do need practical strategies for staying there.
Practical magic, let's call it.
Exactly. Authenticity doesn't require a luxury budget. In fact, Naxos is consistently highlighted as one of the best value destinations in the Cyclades.
Which is wild considering you're getting some of the best food and history in the Mediterranean.
The value stems from its economic diversity. If you choose to stay in Chora, you bypass the massive resort conglomerates for family-run guest houses.
Which embed you right into the daily life of the town.
Right. Or if you prefer the ocean, there are highly affordable beachfront studios scattered near Plaka and Agios Prokopios.
But there's one major rule here, right?
The ultimate practical tip: do not rush it in a day.
Yes. You need time to let the island breathe. But if you really want to capture the absolute pinnacle of this island's magic, you have to execute a very specific strategy from the source material.
The local secret.
The local secret. Remember the Portara, that massive 2,000-year-old marble doorway?
Yes.
If you go there at sunset, the light is undeniably gorgeous. But you will be standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of other people.
Everyone is fighting for the exact same angle.
Holding up their phones, trying to capture the exact same photo. It's chaotic. So the real secret is going at sunrise.
Which is so interesting because this raises an important question about how we consume modern travel.
Yeah.
Are we just crossing oceans to chase crowded, standardized viewpoints purely for the external validation of a social media feed?
Oof. That's a heavy question.
Or are we seeking out personal, introspective moments? Choosing to visit the Portara at sunrise completely subverts that paradigm.
I love that detail. You wake up before the sun crests over the Kastro, the town is completely asleep, the air is cool, the Aegean is glass calm.
Just a handful of local fishermen heading out.
Exactly. A few seabirds. And for a brief window of time, you have one of the most stunning ancient monuments in the world, entirely to yourself. You can literally reach out and touch the chisel marks left by stonemasons from 530 BC in total silence.
It proves that the best memories often begin exactly where the crowds end.
It really does. So to wrap this all up, the core identity of Naxos is that it isn't trying to be glamorous.
No, it offers space, unmanufactured authenticity, and a refreshingly human rhythm.
So for you, listening right now, if you are feeling completely overwhelmed by the constant information overload of your daily life, Naxos represents the ultimate physical manifestation of slowing down.
Appreciating what is right in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before we sign off, I know you had a final sort of provocative thought to leave us with, something not heavily mentioned but built on all this.
I do. And it's something to really mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We established that Naxos remains so authentic largely because it is highly agricultural and doesn't solely rely on tourism.
Right. The potatoes and the cheese keep them independent.
But looking forward, if shifting global climates begin to disrupt these incredibly delicate, fertile microclimates, like if that orographic lift fails or drought alters the soil, what happens?
Oh, man.
Will agriculturally independent places like Naxos eventually be forced to adopt the loud, commercial, mass tourism models of their neighbors just to survive economically?
Wow, that is a staggering thought to end on. If the agriculture fails, do they have to become a frantic TikTok trend just to keep the lights on?
It's a real possibility.
Well, that definitely reinforces how fragile this balance is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep seeking out those quiet, uncharted moments, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.